If there's one thing the Packers have to do to beat the Eagles, it's tackle. Plus, our pal Lily Zhao joins us on the show today for our first Zhao You Doin of the season.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Lily Zhao on the show today. We'll get to her in just a second. But first, tackling. It is about as fundamental a thing as it gets in football. Blocking, tackling. That's how football started. And if you can't block, you can't win. And if you don't tackle, you're probably not going to win. Now, you can outscore teams. The 2011 Packers are a great example of that. And in some ways, last year's Packer team, they were not great tacklers. You go back and you look at 2021, that team tackled really well. Devondre Campbell tackled really well. When you look at this Philadelphia Eagles team, you can make the case that running back, receiver, quarterback, no one has a trio of players as difficult to tackle as the Philadelphia Eagles do. Jalen Hurts in the open field is a nightmare. Jalen Hurts on a QB sneak is a nightmare. In 2022, when the Packers played Philadelphia, they actually manned that team up because they didn't have the kind of dynamic receiver talent that after their first two guys you were afraid of, so they played man coverage. They said someone else is going to have to beat us. We're not going to let it be these guys on the outside. We're not just going to give them free releases and free access in the zone. And so when they did that, Jalen Hurts ran all over them. In 2022, when Shane Steichen was coordinating that offense, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were each among league leaders in yards after catch per reception. But last year, A.J. Brown was 4th in 2022 in yards after catch per reception, by the way, tied with Christian Watson. Devontae Smith was 14th. Now, to give you an idea, Randall Cobb was 12th in yards after catch per reception in 2022. Yeah, that Randall Cobb in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Matt LaFleur's offense is really good at designing runaways, at getting guys an opportunity to make plays. So last year, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, 19th and 27 in yards after catch per reception. Dontavian Wicks being top 20 in yards after catch per reception, that's not something you think of when you think of the many skills that Dontavian Wicks has, but he is getting those opportunities because of the way this offense is built. Last year, A.J. Brown finished 39th in yards after catch per reception. Devontae Smith went from 14th to 65th. And if you go back and you look at the Kellen Moore offenses and what CeeDee Lamb, for example, was able to do, it wasn't like they were killing it in 2022 with Kellen Moore. Romeo Doubs had more yards after catch per reception than CeeDee Lamb. Allen Lazard was 1/10 of a yard short of Lamb. Matt LaFleur is really good at this. He's really good at scheming up opportunities for guys to go make plays after the catch It is a Sean McVay. It is a Mike McDaniel. It is a Kyle Shanahan. It is a trait of these coaches to get these guys with opportunities to go make plays in space. It's not something Brian Johnson was particularly good at last year in Philadelphia. The only way this offense worked was when they were able to create one-on-ones on the outside and take shots down the field. That's the only way that this offense worked. Or tush push, or the run game, which is where Saquon Barkley comes in all this. Now, Saquon Barkley last year was not as good, the elusive rating, those kinds of numbers. But part of that is because the New York Giants were playing one of the most depressingly bad offensive lines I've ever seen. Ever. I mean, they were, and that's what made the fact that the Packers could not get anything going against this team in terms of pass rush pretty pathetic last year. You have to be able to tackle Saquon Barkley because he wants to bounce everything, and he can. Between the tackles, I've never seen the elite ability between the tackles from him. Even going back to Penn State, when he's in space, he is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Or at least he was pre-injury. I don't know where he's going to be right now headed in Philadelphia, but I do know that this is the best offensive line that he's played behind it in his NFL career. It's not close. Even with the questions, even with Mekhi Becton starting at right guard, you've got a new center in there for Jason Kelce. You're going to have a drop-off. This Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is not going to be what it was a year ago, but it's still going to be the best offensive line that Saquon Barkley has ever had. The Packers can't allow Saquon to, okay, he's bottled up. Now all of a sudden he breaks to the outside and it's a foot race because he's going to win a lot of foot races. Now the Packers have the guys on this team in particular, Eric Stokes, Jair Alexander, Javon Bullard can run. Even guys like Quay Walker and Edge Cooper, those are 4 or 5 guys, like they can get on their horse if they need to. But you want to, when it's stopped, it has to be stopped. Like there was a run last year with the Chargers where it looked stopped. And I believe it was Austin Eckler bounced to the outside, and any other running back in the NFL scores, he got tracked down, but it turned into like a 30-yard run when it looked like it was stopped at the line of scrimmage. Can't do that. Those are the kinds of things you just cannot do against this offense. So if they're going to try and throw underneath, we don't know if they're going to be able to design opportunities for these playmakers to get in space. Jahan Dotson in space, Dallas Goedert in space. These guys are not going to be easy to tackle. But you have to consistently rally to the ball, multiple hats to the ball carrier, rally and make these plays. Because if you can do that, you're going to make it really hard on this team. Because they need explosives. And inevitably, you are going to need a couple broken tackles on these explosives to have a winning drive, to have enough drives that you can put together to win a game. It's not generally going to be enough to just chuck it deep and expect to create 4 or 5 explosives with a chance to score. You generally need someone to break a tackle, maybe multiple tackles. That's where you can find these explosive plays. And Jalen Hurts can do it. A.J. Brown can do it. Devontae Smith can do it. And Saquon Barkley can do it. Like there's going to be times when the Packers' aggressiveness, and this is why I've said, I don't know if they're going to be as aggressive with some of their coverages and some of their man deployment here. But they're going to have opportunities for the Eagles to hit them deep. Because they're gonna play aggressive, they're gonna play some single high, they're gonna blitz, they're gonna say, Jalen Hurts, we dare you to beat us. And he's gonna throw it up, and AJ Brown or Devontae Smith might come down with one. That's gonna happen. You got to just charge that to the game. That's gonna happen. But you have to limit the other opportunities when they throw a 4-yard slant. Okay, probably like a 6-yard. Make that tackle so it's not A.J. Brown, slipped one tackle in the middle of the field and now he's out the gate. Or it's a 20-yard play when it should have been a 6-yard play. Those are the opportunities you cannot give an offense that is going to be searching early on to find any sort of continuity. New offensive coordinator, a head coach, and quarterback who do not get along. Reportedly got so bad at one point they couldn't even be in the same room together. That's not great. So don't give them any space. Don't give them any room for life. And I think they're going to have a hard time consistently creating offense early in the season. I think by the end of the year, you could see it. It's a good time to catch them. So the Packers have to take advantage of that. When we come back, Lily Zhao joins us for our week 1 Zhao You Doin. That's next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we've got something a little different for you now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment you can cancel anytime. The Packers still underdogs in Brazil, despite the fact that it's going to be a Brazilian Packers home game. I don't know why the Packers are underdogs in this game. I've already bet on the Packers money line, and I've already bet on the Packers 2.5. It might have even been 3 when I got it a couple months ago when the lines opened. So I was happy to jump on that at the time, and then I'm getting even better juice to bet them on the money line. Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much. I will take that. And if you take that and you win, you get Sunday Ticket. Wonderful. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. The new Locked On NFL is here. Locked On NFL is now 2 shows every day. First, the madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with our pal Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Add in the Locked On local experts, and you get unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes. It's the new Locked On NFL, and it's twice a day. Make the madman Tyler Rowland and the barber Tony Wiggins your second listen at the new Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's week 1. We are finally back at it, thank goodness, after a long off season, which means we get to ask the question that has been on our minds for 9 months or so. Lily Zhao from Fox 6 in Milwaukee with us now to tell us, Zhao You Doin?
Peter, it's been a crazy offseason. I mean, I feel like we were inching closer and closer back to football in the summer, but you get that itch of like, oh, I miss watching NFL games on TV. So it's nice that we've gotten through the summer. I'm sad that summer is going to come to an end, but it's nice that when it does, we're going to have football in our future every single day, basically. So I'm excited. It's been a good year. It's even better now that the Packers are coming back. So I am doing great. I'm excited. The season's starting very shortly. So how you doing?
I'm good. I actually love this part of the season, like the calendar, in terms of like in the morning, so you got that little chill in the air. You get up, maybe you got to throw a hoodie on, but then middle of the day, it's beautiful, it's sunny, but it's not hot. Like this is peak. I'm loving this, and it's football weather, which is the beauty of it as well. A lot to get through in the offseason. I don't want to do like a full rehash, it's not like you didn't come on ever over the last 9 months. But as we get in here, because we did a pre-training camp piece as well. Now that we're here, now that we've arrived, I asked this question the other day on the things that we were trying to figure out. What do we still need to figure out here? So for you, what are the questions that when the Packers take the field on Friday in Sao Paulo, you're like, these are the things I still don't know about, and I'm most looking forward to getting answered?
I think the obvious question is kicker. I think that's the most glaring, obvious thing is what does Braden Narveson look like in a game situation, dependent on how far the field goal is, is he going to make it? And he talked about pressure is a privilege. He said that in the locker room. So I know, he's not going to take this job lightly at all. I mean, I think you posted about it, like the way he talks as a kicker, you want to run through a wall for this guy, right? And you want him to succeed. Mm-hmm. So I think just how Braden Narveson kicks, what's that first field goal look like? What's that first extra point look like for him is kind of the top thing I want to see, because, again, the Packers are kind of putting all their eggs in his basket to say he's the guy that's going to carry this team, which they believe can be a Super Bowl contending team all the way through. So kicker, obviously, number one, but I'm intrigued to see kind of what this offensive line looks like. I know they've been kind of, not really talking about who gets that right guards position. Sean Ryan, Jordan Morgan, which direction do they go? So who is the best five in the Packers coaching staff in their mind? So who's the top five that you want out there to protect Jordan Love? And then I just want to see this defense go at it, Peter, because Jeff Hafley said he wants to let it rip. So what does that mean? What does it look like? That's what I'm excited to see on Friday night.
Yeah, let her rip. I loved that from Jeff Hafley. And for those who missed the clip from Braden Narvison that I posted on Twitter, I'll play it here for those of you who haven't seen it, because it's great.
Does it come with pressure?
Yeah, everything does. And if somebody tells you they're not nervous, there's no pressure, they're lying to you, or they don't care, in my opinion. I think there's always pressure. Pressure is a privilege, in my opinion. Pressure means that you've done the right things at the right time to show everybody how hard you've worked. That's how I feel about it.
So a kicker has never made me want to run through a wall, Lily, but that was his pressure is a privilege. Like that, put that on a t-shirt, put it on I know it's not original. He didn't think of that, but I think that is in a lot of ways the theme for the season, right? Like this is the same team that came in last year with no expectations, projected to finish fourth in the NFC North. And I know internally they had higher expectations than that. These are still NFL players. They expect to go out and perform, but that's a question for me too. Like, how do they respond to now you're not the hunter as much as you are the hunted? Teams are going to be ready for Green Bay's first punch this year because we expect them to be really good.
Exactly. And that's kind of why it's a different season in that effect, right? Because you're not the new kids on the block anymore. People have video of you. They have film on all these wide receivers. They have film on Jordan Love, but kind of what they don't have just yet is film on this defense and what it looks like. Yeah. So that's maybe, an advantage for Green Bay going into week one. But again, like you mentioned, it's not, teams aren't taking the Packers lightly anymore. And neither should this Packers team, because again, we know they're loaded with talent. They want the ultimate goal going into New Orleans for the Super Bowl. So they're going to have to play like it's, 0-0 every week and try out to go out there and get a win. I will say, though, the division this year is going to be so fun to watch. The NFC North looks stacked, and rightfully so, right? The Lions are going to be really good. The Bears, I think, are going to be up there. I think the only unknown is the Vikings, just with their injuries and of course, losing J.J. McCarthy. So what kind of competitive juices do they bring to the division as well? So it's not going to be easy. So for as talented as Green Bay is, the path, though, to winning the division still will be difficult.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's the way you want it. If you're just a football fan, put the Packer fan hat aside for a moment. You want competitive games week in and week out. I think there are certainly plenty of fans that go, no, I'd like to win 38-3 every single week. And as compelling as that would be, of course, good football, I think, is ultimately what we want too. So, beating the Lions 38-24, yeah, that would be pretty fun. Sign me up for that, to be sure. So if the Packers are able to get to where they want to get to, and I want to zoom in smaller picture here, but just sticking with this big picture theme, for the Packers to get to where they want to get to, who is the one or two players or coaches who you go, for them to get to where they can be offensively or defensively or whatever it is, to be a Super Bowl team, who is that one or two, like whether it's a group of players or what is that one thing?
That's a great question, Peter. I think the obvious answer is you have to start with Jordan Love. I think if he's not performing well, it's going to be a tough season for the Packers, because as good as your defense is, you still need the offense to score. And he's the head of that snake, per se. He's the one operating the machine. He got paid big time in the offseason. And I know he's just ready to prove why he's worth $50+ million a season. So I think
same, by the way.
Same, right? And so I think Jordan Love needs to be that guy. I think he will be. He's confident. He's played so well to end 2023. So I want to see that carry over and have him do well, because when he's distributing the ball, when he's making good throws, his skill players around him are thriving. Josh Jacobs, I'm excited to see kind of what he's going to be able to do with this offense as well. But I think outside of the offense and the obvious answer of Jordan Love, I think it's got to be just what Jeff Hafley can do, right? I think guys want to run through a wall for him, but there's just been this air about this defense the last decade of we have an offense, but the defense is just there. And so I think the narrative this year needs to change in that this defense can be a championship caliber defense. They have the players, I I'm assuming they have the scheme and they have the defensive coordinator. So can they go out there and execute and complement this offense? Because that's what's going to get the Packers over the edge. And then obviously, hopefully, they have a competent special teams unit as well. So kind of everybody, right, Peter?
Yeah,
Everybody.
let's not just hand wave the special teams, because we know that has been a thing that has doomed the Packers in the past as well, and it was not very good last year. So we'll see about that one. Yeah, I said this on the show the other day. If Jordan Love is the guy we saw in the second half of last year, like if he can do that for a season, he's an MVP caliber player. And if that's the case, then they're a Super Bowl caliber team just by sheer force of will, and we've seen that. Aaron Rodgers has dragged some mediocre teams to the NFC Championship game because he's Aaron Rodgers. And I think we've seen other guys. Josh Allen has done that. There's a short list of guys who are capable of doing that. And if Jordan Love is one of them, that it seems like a cop-out answer, I think, in a lot of ways. But I think what you're saying really is he's good enough that if he plays his best, they can beat anyone in the league. And that is telling us something about Jordan Love's capabilities. Like, he can be as good as any quarterback in the league on a given day. And he was in the second half last year. This defensive question, though, Lily, let's get into it with this Eagles team, because this is an Eagles team that is explosive offensively. And the last time the Packers saw them, understanding it's a different defensive coordinator, different defensive personnel, they had no answers for Jalen Hurts, especially in the run game. And so what do you think if the Packers are like, okay, we need to go into this week to stop this thing? What is the thing that you think they need to stop this week?
I think for them, when you look at that 2022 matchup, right? I think you combined for 310 yards, and basically half of that was on the ground. So he just killed them with his legs. So I think maybe one thing, if you want to take that away, is just take away the rushing lanes. Make sure he's not able to help you or to help beat you with his legs. So make him one-dimensional. His arm is still great, but you have to limit one of the two things, right? So if the Packers can just limit his legs and not let him run wild or get the extra yard or two to extend drives, I think that's what they have to do. They have to get in his head as well. But I think, again, the Jeff Hafley defenses, we're going to pressure the quarterback. We're going to get after those guys. So I want to see that come to fruition on Friday night, is to make Jalen Hurts uncomfortable and make him a one-dimensional quarterback as much as you can, because he is still a really good QB. And so I think the Packers want to take away that run game from him and kind of limit that potential disaster, I would say, from Hurts, and not get hurt again.
More to come with Lily Zhao here in just a second on Locked On Packers. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. The new Locked On NFL is here. Locked On NFL is now 2 shows every day. First, the madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso. Then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Add in the Locked On local experts, hey, that's me, and get unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes. It's the new Locked On NFL, and it's twice a day. Make the madman Tyler Rowland and the barber, Tony Wiggins, your second listen at the new Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Yeah, the health factor is certainly important here, because Jalen Hurts was not healthy all of last season. But part of that is because the offense was not running as smoothly. He had to run a little bit more. They weren't finding intermediate passing lanes with this run game. And you're right. If you go back and watch, Jalen Hurts killed the Packers scrambling. It wasn't even designed runs. It was everyone's covered. I'm just going to take off, and I'm 40 yards down the field before anyone is even near me. I kind of think, I hesitate to say this, Lily. I kind of think the Joe Barry, let's play 2 high safeties and keep everything in front is exactly the way you play this Eagles team. And I find that hilarious, because they brought in Jeff Hafley to be the exact opposite, but I kind of think against this team this week, that's the way to play this. No big plays. Like the answer to my question for me is no big plays. If you can limit their big plays, I just don't think they're going to be efficient enough offensively. And so I wonder if we get like a fool's gold week where we think this team is going to look this one way. We see it look totally different against the Eagles. And we go, wait, are we wrong? And then it turns out, no, that's just the way they wanted to play the Eagles. And I'm looking forward to Jeff Hafley being more adaptive than Joe Barry was, and us having to do those like week to week. Oh, this is going to be different this week, and they're going to play a different way this week because they can and because they want to. Maybe that's something that Jeff Hafley is going to bring.
I agree, and you have to adapt to your opponent, right? You can't just say, this is the scheme we're going to run,
Barry.
and then you have to look at what they have personnel wise and say, based off of what they do well, we have to counteract that with this scheme. So you're right. The two high safeties certainly keep everything in front of you. Don't let those guys get big plays. Will certainly help this Packers defense hopefully get a win because, like you said, if Jalen Hurts is throwing 35-yard bombs and he's running for 40 yards a pop, I mean, it's a long day for Green Bay to be able to kind of keep up with that if the Eagles are rolling, especially in week one. I think for this Eagles organization, with how they tanked last year, they're still a prideful organization. I think they really want to win this game and show, hey, we're back. I think the Packers have to kind of know that as well and say, listen, we want to counteract that and say, we're still the better team. So I think it's going to be a big match there Friday night. But you are right, though. I think this could be a case of every week the defense looks a little different than what maybe we thought they would. But ultimately, they're finding ways to win, and that's the most important thing.
You are, as I've often said, our vibe expert on this show. And it does seem like the Jeff Hafley, the team is vibing with him, that they seem to be responding to him. And just like, I've never gotten so many responses from people, Lily, when I post a clip of Jeff Hafley, that like to have a coordinator engender the kind of like, let's go, this guy's awesome, with really pretty banal answers, but the way that he talks, it's the way that he engages with people. It just makes you go, man, this guy seems special. Are you in like no doubt about it, I'm ready to get hurt again mode with Jeff Hafley with this? Because it does seem like he has really, I cannot remember the fan base being this seduced by a coordinator hire in a long time. And normally, like, me, a little bit of a contrarian, a little bit of a cynic. I want to be like, come on, guys. I've taken the bait. Am I an idiot?
I hope not. And I hope I'm not either. I hope I'm not either because I bought into it too. But you're right, though. I think, when there's change, when things haven't gone right, and again, there's a position change, right? The obvious answer is it has to get better. And the guy that they bring in, like you mentioned, he has coaching pedigree. He really helped turn around defenses wherever he was, and he's a good players coach. So not to say this hasn't happened with past defensive coordinators, but you see him out there kind of working one-on-one with guys, and you see him pushing them, giving them direction. And that's what I really liked, right? He was seeking out particular guys and giving them one-on-one instruction. And just the way that the defense talks about him in the locker room, it's like they want to run through a wall for him because of, the kind of coordinator he is. They respect him. They're going to listen to him. And they love the scheme. And they love this attack mentality that I think they kind of been lacking the last couple of years. So I think for him, though, they have to have a good showing in week one. I think this Packers fan base really wants to kind of jump on this, we're going to have a really good defensive year. So I think they need to come out and show out defensively and prove why Jeff Hafley was the best hire for this position and prove why these players thought they were, or that he was as well.
Yeah, sneaky a lot of pressure on this hire for Matt LaFleur because he has not hired assistants particularly well. This is something that Sean McVay, that Kyle Shanahan, that even Mike McDaniel to a lesser degree have done really well on this same tree, and he has not. And so if this doesn't work, it's going to reflect really poorly on him. And so I don't want to sour the mood on this, but there's a lot of pressure on this to work right now. But to your point, like this idea of coaching and teaching, that's such a critical piece to get the players to show that you care about them. Like there's the great clip. He was working, footwork one-on-ones with the DBs, and like that kind of attention to detail and fundamentals. If you're going to play relatively straightforward defense, which the Packers, it seems like they are, you need that kind of stuff. Have you noticed, though, there's a great line I heard. Robert Mays talked about the San Francisco 49ers defense. They solve their problems with violence. And I just thought, like, what a great line about a football team. It does seem to me that there is a different mentality about this defense. And you see it like Tyron Hopper out there flying around, popping dudes. Javon Bullard and Evan Williams are those kinds of players as well. And even in the game against the Browns, where we got a little taste of these young players, or these starters, excuse me, like Eric Stokes out there setting a strong edge. Have you also seen this? It's not a vibe, it's a mentality, it's a philosophy shift in, hey, let's go solve our problems with violence, which is a phrase that I will now use forever because I love it.
100%. I think it's bully ball in the best way, right? It's not like you're going to go out there and do things that are not right, but you really want to enforce your will. You want to get in the head of your opponent, and you want them to think, oh, I might get beat out here by whoever's going up against me. And I know that Jeff Hafley played a very vanilla defense in the preseason, didn't really unveil a lot, but in those glimpses, like you mentioned, when, Hopper's getting a big hit, they're going after the quarterback with the strip sack. I mean, those are glimpses of what we can potentially expect to see in the season. So I think it's there. The guys probably want to unleash it, but they know it's preseason. And again, a majority of the starters did not play, but we kind of get that like, oh, there's a vibe there, right? Because I think when this defense believes they can be great, and that is the attitude they're coming into it with week one, knowing that, hey, on the other side of the football, our offense can go down and score for us as well. I mean, that just there's a different air to this defense, I think. And just with how confident they are this season, with the health that they have, which I think is also really important.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun defensive year for this team. But you're right. I think that bully ball mentality certainly is there.
That was a point I had not considered. Like with the defense now understanding the offense can make up for them. Will they play a little bit more aggressive? Can they say, hey, look, we want to play more aggressive, but also we're not worried about making mistakes. Like it's one thing to say we want to play aggressive, but like if you're the Giants and you're Wink Martindale and you're aggressive, your players kind of know in the back of your minds, like, if we don't do something, we're screwed because Daniel Jones, or unless it's against the Packers, Tommy DeVito is not doing anything for us. And so we got to go make a play, and maybe forces you to get outside yourself. They don't have to worry about that as much. All right, Lily, we made it. Week one, Packers, Eagles. Packers are 2.5 point underdogs in Brazil. That does not make sense to me, even a little. I don't get it. Tell me what you think the outcome of week one will be for Green Bay.
Listen, I think we all hope it's a win, right? And I hope that it's not going to go 100% clean. It's week one. Guys are still kind of, figuring things out, both sides of the ball, both teams as well. And, what I hope to see is obviously a Packers win, but them to go out there and continue their dominance on offense. I want to see them getting after the quarterback. I want to see them go after the football. And I also want to see a clean special teams performance. With the new kickoff rules, how is Keyshawn Nixon going to respond to that? What are those returns going to look like? But I think overall, I want to see a clean game, not a lot of penalties, figure things out, but also get the win. Because I think if you can get a win in this environment, which I think will be a very big pro-Packer crowd, because we know how many Packers fans are in Brazil, this will go much better than their last international trip did. So I think that sets the standard for them moving forward, if they can beat a quality opponent on the road, so to speak, in South America.
Yeah, although we expect it to be a highly partisan pro-Packers crowd in Brazil. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Lily, we will talk to you next week. Until then, enjoy the game and enjoy a free weekend to not have to worry about the Packers. You just get to sit back and enjoy the games on Sunday, throw that red zone on, and let's go. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Peter.
All right, thanks to Lily for joining the show today. Many, many, many more weeks to come with her. We got our crossover Thursday coming up tomorrow. Louis DiBiase, Gino Camilleri. Yes, it sounds like two guys who host the Locked On Eagles podcast, and we're going to have a lot of fun with them tomorrow on the show. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Go subscribe on YouTube. And also, go get the Jordan Love jersey we're giving away on Instagram. Just 2 days left. We're going to announce on Friday, right before the game, we're going to announce who won the Jordan Love jersey. But you got to go. You got to tag a friend in your Instagram post. Follow us on Locked On Packers over on Instagram. And, get you a Jordan Love jersey. Why not? So you can stay Locked On Packers.